Welcome back to the Cowboys Fan Show, everybody. Tyler Ortega here, alongside Kimbrey Temple. And funny thing, the last 2 weeks we've had a Redskins fan on as guests.
Yes.
And I couldn't find any this week.
I think they jinxed themselves because I probably couldn't find one if I looked hard. They're gone.
I tried to get a hold of our guest from last week.
Yeah.
She claimed that she had nothing good to say, so obviously a little bit of distaste in the Redskins' mouth. But Kimbrey, I hear you got some things to talk about this week. What do you got?
I do. This week in the huddle, I have 3 things once again. 2 different clips that I'm going to show you guys. First off, obviously we kind of touched on this before, Jason Witten, second tight end in NFL history to reach 1,000+ receptions, and we were able to witness it on Monday Night Football against the Redskins. What better time? There's the clip right there. We see Witten catch it, and it's good.
And, that's just something that Jason Witten's been doing throughout his career.
Absolutely.
You hear him always say he is Tony Romo's security blanket.
He is.
And not just Tony Romo. I mean, Jason Witten started way back when Quincy Carter was the Cowboys quarterback. He threw him the very first completion of his career. Now, I've been a Cowboys fan long enough. I remember those Quincy Carter days. They were not fun, a lot of 6-10 seasons, but just to see the way that Jason Witten has grown not only as a professional football player, but just as a person, because they always talk about him just being one of the nicest guys in the league, sort of like the Tim Duncan of the NFL, if you will. Just no matter how great he is, you just cannot hate the guy. He's just such a good guy. So happy for Jason Witten. I feel like really nobody deserves it more than Jason Witten.
Absolutely not. And I actually read last night on social media that he was really disappointed the pass did not come from Tony Romo, but that doesn't negate his feelings about such a big accomplishment, obviously.
Right. I mean, overall, they got the win.
Yeah, which is bigger than anything.
Right. Definitely the most important part was the win. What else do you got?
Absolutely. Matt Castle, last night he had 16 completions for 29 passes, and he's looking a little bit better. He's getting a little bit more distance on his throws. But even when he does get that distance, we saw in the highlights, the reception just doesn't catch. It doesn't stick. And poor Castle, I mean, he's improving when he's just as good as the Redskins starting quarterback. Not to say that Kirk Cousins is any good at all. But Matt Castle's starting to look a little bit more comfortable in his position and a lot more comfortable with his receivers, which is very important chemistry.
And do you think that's just the cause of him now being with the football team for, about 9-10 weeks now? He was an early season acquisition from the Bills. So what would you attribute that to, him getting more distance on his throws?
I think, it is absolutely very relevant to that. It's definitely important. I remember in high school sports, our coaches were like, you need to have chemistry on and off the field. He hasn't had quite enough time with this team to build that chemistry. Hopefully next season, should we ever need him, he'll be a lot better because he will have had that time to build a relationship and rapport with his fellow teammates. Right now, he's finally getting into his groove and he's finally finding his space, and his teammates are getting used to what he needs from them, and that's important.
Well, I mean, this is his 5th NFL team already. He's kind of a victim of not necessarily circumstance, but everybody wants to judge him how he came off of that season with the Patriots when Brady got hurt and led them to the playoffs and whatnot. And it's not that fair. I mean, the guy has had, I think they were saying last night, about 6 different offensive coordinators in his 5 teams. So obviously Matt Castle does need a lot of time to adjust. He needs to get his personality out there in the locker room, let guys feel comfortable with him. And I think that's finally happening.
Yeah, and that's important for him, and that's a difficult transition to make with so many changes happening in such a short time.
Well, hopefully Matt Castle can continue on this good little streak that he's going. The Cowboys have some very, very tough games coming up, and this may be the craziest thing I've ever said on this show, but right now the Dallas Cowboys are 4-8, and they're 1 game back in the NFC East.
I mean, it takes just that little tiny bit, and we've talked about this almost every week. Just one little tiny thing can change the complete outcome of this team. And right now, if they just get that one more win, that just one more big play, one good move, and they have those things that they need. They have all the assets that they need at this point. They have incredible receivers, some really strong linemen, and a quarterback who's finally getting used to what he's supposed to be doing. They've got what they need.
It's definitely looking up. I won't say it's looking good for the rest of the year, but it's definitely looking up from what it was. What's next?
All right, up next, the Cowboys' running game is starting to look lackluster. They last season were second in overall rushing in the NFL and third in average yards per carry. This year, 10th in both. And that's just kind of driving the team to have a lackluster season. They're not as successful as they should be. And like I said, they do have a lot of assets, very key players, but they're just not making the right moves. And a lot of that does come from the quarterback situation, I'm guaranteeing.
Right.
Because that is something that you have those changes every week. We don't know who's going to start or what to expect, and we don't know what Matt Castle's going to do when he is starting.
Right.
It makes it difficult.
I mean, the thing that I think is what's going on here is, I mean, we've talked about it at length before. With Tony Romo out, they know the Cowboys cannot pass the ball as effectively as they were.
Yeah.
You know, so now defenses are loading the box. They're putting 9-10 defenders in the box, forcing the Cowboys to throw the ball to the outside, which Matt Castle has not done, you know, very well.
No.
He definitely looked a little bit better on Monday Night Football, but that's what's going on here. These teams are stacking the box, and they're forcing the Cowboys quarterbacks to make plays, and the Cowboys quarterbacks just are not getting it done.
They aren't.
And that's what's going to happen. They are going to have to stretch the field. You are going to have to see more of those deep throws. Like we saw last night, Terrence Williams had 2 catches for 63 yards. So those long balls are definitely what you're going to have to do. Get the defense to back up a little bit, and that's what's going to open up the field for you, the middle of the field for those 5-6 yard gains.
Absolutely.
So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We got a little bit more coming up for you. Got the scouting report and my keys to the game coming up next on segment 3. You're watching the Cowboys Fan Show.